Good Saturday morning. I hope you had a restful night. We are in Genesis 17, and it's all about changes, transitions, promises, and patience, right? We're waiting on the Lord here. And it opens up that God is speaking to Abram, and he's encouraging him. Hey, Abram, continue to walk in integrity. Walk in perfection. Be thou perfect. And because of this, I will make my covenant, my agreement between me and thee, and I'm going to multiply thee exceedingly, blessing you over abundantly because you walk upright. Amen. Let's examine ourselves. And in verse 5, Timotheus had this, but it's all about name changes. How because God gave him a promise, he said, your name is no longer going to be Abram, but it's going to go into Abraham. And that means a father of many nations have I made thee. So I'm going to have Timotheus pick it up because we're in that.
Okay, so God changed Abraham's name from Abram to Abraham, whatever. But like that's the Old Testament, so I mean that's kind of telling of how things were back then and how the Lord was with his people. But nowadays he still expects the same from us. So technically we do have our names changed every time we give our lives to Christ. So like people would call Abraham Abraham now. So they knew that there was a difference. So when we get saved, it's like our name should already be changed. That's how much of a difference it should be. Like our names, like it's a clear change in our lives and the way that we're living.
Should be evident.
That's the same thing. I'm sorry,
Amen.
but yeah, it should be that, if not more, like obvious that we're serving the Lord. Like we changed our own names.
Amen. And someone else who had a name change in this passage, Sarah, right? No longer Sarai, but Sarah. And it was interesting to be reminded that her name meant princess, right? So you could be a 90-year-old elderly, royal one. Doesn't matter because we're part of the royal priesthood, a chosen generation. And all eyes right now are in England, right? For baby Sussex, Meghan and Prince Harry. But guess what? We are princesses and princes in the Lord's eyes, right? We are royalty. So everyone is special who becomes born again, naturally, physically, but most of all, spiritually. And something else is that the Lord said, even with Ishmael, who was born by Hagar, right? The rejected one, he said, I will make him fruitful and multiply him exceedingly. But the most important thing is that the promises are for the future. We have to trust in the Lord and know that it's for a set time. It is for a time that God knows he has predetermined. So in the meantime, we have to walk in integrity. We have to walk perfectly. We have to trust the Lord with all our heart and know that our names will be changed. I was reading about one of my favorite singers from back in the 80s and 90s. Her daughter is not going through the type of change that we're talking about, but she went through some type of physical, biological change of her own, and she's changing her name. Sade's daughter is now trying to become something else, and name Isla. We're not talking about that type of name change. God wants us to be called child of God, Most High, and we want to walk in that integrity and in that peace. Have a wonderful day in the Lord with your name change.